this instructional video on how to complete the 2025-2026 pre-K through 12 immunization survey. So first we want to start by how to log into the Health Commerce system. So this is the website, commerce.health.ny.gov. And also if you Google Health Commerce System login, it's definitely the first link that comes up. Then we'll go to it. Some of you might have this saved. If this is your first time logging in, you might not. So you just put in your username and password and log in. So once you're at the Health Commerce System homepage, first thing I want to review is how to find out what roles you have in the Health Commerce System and the organizations you're associated with. So if you go to My Content, this drop down, and you go down to see what roles I hold, it will bring you here to the Communications Directory Search and Export. And if you go over to User, you can put in your first and last name, or you can put in your HCS ID, and it will show you which roles you have, which is over here to the left, and then also the organization you're a part of and the ID. Now, most of your organization IDs will be much longer than this, but this is just an example for mine. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is how to get to the survey from the Health Commerce System webpage. There are two different ways to do this, but I want to make sure that everybody knows both. And so if we start at the Health Commerce System homepage, we go again to this drop down, My Content, and then we go down to All Applications. And so the applications are great because they're alphabetized. And so what we use for the survey is called SMART. And so we just go over to S, and SMART, right, they have the acronyms here, which is helpful. But the whole name is Survey Management and Response Tool. And so I already have SMART added, which is why I don't have the green plus here. But if you don't have it added yet to your Health Commerce System homepage, you'd click the green plus. And then when you go back to the home page under your applications, SMART will be there. That were made to the survey layout. We just wanted to make sure those changes were specifically in the video. So I'm going to start with the directions that hopefully all of you have. And so because I don't need to do anything in the Health Commerce System, I want to go straight to SMART. I'm going to click this link in the directions to take me to page 8 so I can use the Smart Forms link. I'm going to actually log myself in just so everyone can see what it would look like if they clicked the link and they were taken here, right, to log in. And you will not have the admin on your page, but you'll have survey and reports. So if I haven't started my survey yet, and this is the first time I'm going in, right, I'm going to go to surveys, and you will all not have these multiple options. You should just have the school immunization survey with the due date as December 20th, one time. And so over here to the left under actions, you have this little, it looks like a partial box with an arrow. So that's how you actually open the survey now. And so now most of you will not have this box because if you are associated only with one organization in our system, right, this page will kind of automatically populate and take you to the survey. But if you do have affiliation with multiple organizations in our account, you will have facility level data access already filled in, and most of you would have the organization type filled in. If you are affiliated with, say, a public school and a private school, you'd have to choose organization type, but if you're only affiliated with one type, that would also be automatically filled in. And so when you do this drop down for organization, you should only be able to see the actual surveys that you're affiliated with, right? You won't see other schools. You would only see the schools you have access to. So I'm going to choose our test school. just taking a moment to load. And so then the survey comes up, and you can just go straight through it all. And so any box with an asterisk you must fill out. Oh goodness, sorry about this. Sorry for any of the pop-ups as well. Only fill out these if you know them. That's why there's no asterisk. So we'll just say Albany County. This is ideally the person you'd want us to contact first, right? It does not necessarily have to be the person who's filling out the survey. This is more so about how the school is set up, and if we have any questions about immunizations or vaccines for your school, who is the ideal primary contact. For most people, that is also the person who is filling out the survey, but that is not required as much as who do you feel for your school is the best primary contact. This is an important question about exclusion. Hopefully it's yes for everyone. So this question, check here if your school has any pre-K or daycare students. This is the only way you're going to see the tabs for pre-K under 1 and over 1. So when I click this box, now these tabs come up, right? When this box is not clicked, it doesn't show them, because we would assume if you don't have any pre-K or daycare students at your school, you don't need to see those boxes. But if you do, they'll come up, and the only way you're going to see the subsequent boxes is if you put a number in here. And so once I put a number in there, that's when all the other boxes will show up, and these all have asterisks because I have to fill them all out. And so if I did not have any pre-K or daycare students under 1, I would leave this box unchecked. Now, all of these boxes for K through 12 are going to appear. If I do not have any kindergarten students, I cannot leave this box blank. The survey will not allow me to submit if this box is blank. So if I have no kindergarten students, I'm just going to input a 0. And let's say I only have middle school students, right? I'm going to have to put a 0 into every single one of the boxes for the grades that I don't have. So for middle school, I'm going to say my middle school has 5th through 8th graders. And so I would just go down, fill out everything as it needs to be. And then this draft and submit, or these draft and submit buttons are not specific to the grade, right? So if I pressed draft right now, it would save only the information that I've input, but it would save the information I've input on the whole survey, not just for the tab that I'm in. And then once I say actually, put in all the data for my 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, it's fine. I would put in the data down here, but I wanted to show, right, I still would have to go and put in zeros for grades 9 through 10. So any grade K through 12 that you don't have students for, you must put a 0 in, or the survey won't let you submit. So, like I said, if I wanted to draft right now, I could, but if I wanted to submit, even though I put 0s in all of the boxes of the grades where I have no students, I still couldn't submit until these boxes were actually filled, right? So if I just say all of my students are up to date with their DTaP, I have no medical exemptions, same with polio, and we would just keep going through one at a time. Now, for titers, right, those are only acceptable if you have the lab report from a CLIA approved lab. You cannot just accept the titers that are in NICES if you see them. So if you have documentation of the vaccines, whether right from NICES or the parent submitted it, that's fine. But for the titers, you have to have a lab report submitted, again, from a CLIA approved lab. I'm going to jump down here to varicella, right? Varicella is the only one where you also could have a history of disease as opposed to a vaccine or a titer or a medical exemption. And so the difference, right, if you have a titer, it must be the lab report from a CLIA approved lab that you have documentation of. If it's the history of disease for varicella, that has to be documented by a physician, a physician's assistant, or a nurse practitioner. So just a little bit of difference between those. We also have come across some situations where you have an unhoused student, as McKinney-Vento student. And those students, if they also don't have a vaccination record, you would not mark them in both of these boxes, right? So say I have only one student that is unhoused, right? And they don't have any of their vaccines, let's say. When I'm filling out these boxes, right, I would accurately fill out the boxes to reflect, yep, if I have 7 students and one doesn't have any of their vaccines, right, then I would change these. And then when I come down here, right, I'm not going to mark that student as without a vaccination record because they are unhoused, right? If I have a student without a vaccination record that is not a McKinney-Vento student, that is the only time we would put them in the students without vaccination record box, not if they're unhoused, right? We don't want to put them in both of these if they're unhoused, just only here if they're unhoused. All right. Let's see if there's just any other quick things we should go over. Oh, yes. So, once I have gone into the survey and drafted, which I actually should have showed you guys an example of that. I apologize. Let's just let it load. And so you'll see. As soon as it loads, I apologize for the delay. Let's hope this one, yep, I think we got it. All right, yep, you'll see that none of that data I put in saved because I didn't press draft before. And so none of that is in here. None of my zeros saved, none of it. So I'm just going to draft just so that you all can see that. Right, and so you see that it did a little bit of a red error because it was telling me I didn't have any of those boxes filled in, but it still allowed me to draft even though I have those blanks. So it will only not let you submit with the blanks, but if you have anything in there, draft, whether there's errors or blanks, you can still draft it. And so once you've started your survey and drafted it, or also after you've submitted it, whether you've drafted or submitted, just once you start the survey, and again, you will not have all of these options. You should all just have school immunization survey. December 20th, 2025 is the due date. So here, there's a little triangle that you click under actions to run the report now. And so when I do this, right, you should all have facility level data chosen already, and you won't have all these types. You would only have the type that you are affiliated with. And so this is not what I want you to worry about. I want you to go down here to the bottom left and click search. I appreciate your patience as this loads. Hopefully it won't take as long for you, but it might, so it's still a good representation that sometimes the system just takes longer than you might expect, but it'll get there. All right, thank you for your patience. So you will not have all of these schools. You should just see your school. And so this is the school I just drafted. And so if I click the I here, it'll allow me just to see the survey that I drafted, or if I had submitted it, just allow me to see the survey I submitted. But this box with the pencil in it would allow me actually to edit my survey, and I could put things in here like test district. And now if I put things in here with editing it and just exit out, it's not going to save them, right? It's the same as when you're actually in the survey. I'd need to go down and draft that I actually wanted to make that additional change where I put the test district. And so you see, I can't see that change yet because, right, the system is going to need to load and take me out. And then when I press search again, it will actually show the changes that I made in the draft. So now we just have to wait for the system to load again, which might take a moment, but it will get there. All right, and now you can see My test school came up, test district. If we edit again, it's still in there, and I could now continue filling out my survey, draft again if I needed to, or if I filled in every box accurately, I could submit. Now, when I try to submit, right, not only will the boxes where there are errors become red like this, it will tell me, please check the form and correct all errors before submitting. So I think sometimes if you press submit and it doesn't work and you don't know why, see if it says this underneath the submit button, because if it does, that's kind of an extra check to say, okay, where in my survey are these errors? Because especially if you have all of the tabs filled in or a lot of them, right, it can be very hard to find the error. So it's just about making sure, okay, I press submit. Does it say I have errors? Okay, it might take some time, but I'm going to need to go through each tab one by one and scroll through the options to see where the error is. And if you aren't able to find it, you can always reach out to us to ask. Thank you so much.